In the heart-wrenching tale of Emily Longley, we are confronted with the sobering realities of domestic violence, tragedy, and the quest for justice. At the core of this narrative lies the poignant story of Emily, a vibrant young woman whose life was tragically cut short by the hands of her possessive and abusive partner. Through the lens of Emily's harrowing experience, we delve into the depths of a societal issue that continues to plague communities worldwide. Born in London, Emily Longley's early years were filled with promise and love within the embrace of her family. However, health concerns prompted a significant relocation to New Zealand, where hopes for a brighter future were dashed by the insidious grip of domestic violence. Despite her resilience and determination to thrive, Emily's life became entangled in a tumultuous relationship with Elliot Turner, ultimately leading to unspeakable tragedy. Initially drawn to Elliot's charms, Emily soon found herself ensnared in a web of possessiveness and control. In the beginning, Emily was drawn to Elliot because of his charms. However, she quickly found herself caught up in a web of possessiveness and control. The illusion of love and safety was shattered when Emily was subjected to a constant torrent of emotional and physical abuse at the hands of Elliot, who was becoming increasingly aggressive and envious of her. Emily's fate was predetermined by the hands of her abuser, leaving behind a legacy of agony and sadness, despite the fact that she made efforts to break free from the toxic cycle. The tragic chain of circumstances that led to Emily's untimely death serves as a jarring reminder of the severe effects that can result from domestic abuse that is not addressed. Because of the efforts made by Elliot Turner's family to obstruct justice, the tragedy was only made worse, and the mourning loved ones of Emily were further delayed in reaching a conclusion. In the middle of the darkness, the pursuit of justice provided a ray of light by making Elliot and his family accountable for their acts. This was accomplished through the legal proceedings and the implementation of sentences. The consequence of Emily's death spreads into the lives of her family and loved ones, leaving behind a gap that can never be replaced. Emily's death has left a void that cannot be filled. Mark Longley, Emily's father, grapples with the weight of grief and the relentless pursuit of justice for his beloved daughter, while striving to navigate the complexities of moving forward. As Emily's story serves as a sobering reminder of the insidious nature of domestic violence, her legacy inspires a call to action to break the cycle of abuse and ensure that no more lives are lost in silence. The terrible story of Emily Longley serves as a harsh reminder of the urgent need to combat the plague of domestic violence and defend the ideals of justice and accountability. In conclusion, the story of Emily Longley serves as a devastating reminder of it. Empathy, awareness, and action are the means by which we may pay tribute to Emily's memory and work toward a society in which love is characterized by compassion, respect, and the creation of a safe environment for all. Beginning with a story of innocence and hope, Emily Longley's journey begins with the fact that she was born into the warmth of a loving family in England. Emily Longley was encircled by the loving embrace of her parents, Mark and Caroline Longley, from the time she was a young child. They provided her with unflinching love and support throughout her whole life. Mark and Caroline Longley welcomed their first child, Emily Longley, into the world on February 22, 1994, in a hospital in London. Emily Longley is the beloved first child of the Longley sisters. At the youthful age of 26, Mark was initially anxious about becoming a parent. However, the moment he held his newborn daughter for the first time brought him both peace and joy beyond his initial concerns. Emily's blonde hair and bright eyes were a witness to the love that surrounded her as she grew up, and she became the radiant embodiment of her parents' hopes and goals as she grew up. Nevertheless, Emily's upbringing was marred by an unanticipated change when the Longley family made a decision that would forever affect their lives. They moved to New Zealand. This decision was spurred by concerns about Emily's health. Mark and Caroline uprooted their life and proceeded on a journey to a foreign place in the hope of providing their cherished daughter with a brighter future. In spite of the difficulties associated with transitioning to a new environment, the promise of Emily's improved health filled their hearts with hope and determination. Emily displayed a remarkable level of resiliency in New Zealand as she enthusiastically pursued the chances that were presented to her. As a result of her insatiable hunger for information and her enthusiasm for life, She achieved remarkable success in her academic pursuits and set off on an educationally fruitful path. Emily's dazzling beauty and magnetic appeal drew the attention of the modeling industry, which opened doors to a world of possibilities. This occurred in addition to her scholastic aspirations. As she graced runways and adorned magazine covers with easy elegance, she built out a place for herself in the highly competitive world of fashion. Her fame was on the rise as she carved out a career for herself. A turbulent turn of events occurred in Emily's life when Elliot Turner entered the picture. This occurred in the midst of a frenzy of success and accomplishments. Emily found herself entangled in a relationship that was characterized by possessiveness and control, for the reason that she was drawn to his charisma and allure. She was unable to break free from Elliot's hold on her, and as a result, she became ensnared in a web of deception and abuse. Her once bright future was clouded by fear and doubt. There is a story of resiliency, fortitude, and unyielding drive that lies in the background of Emily Longley's path. Her life is a tribute to the unconquerable spirit of the human heart, and it will be permanently carved in the annals of history. Her existence has changed the course of history, from the corridors of a hospital in London to the bustling streets of New Zealand. In the beginning, Emily Longley and Elliot Turner had a relationship that was filled with excitement and promise. However, it quickly degenerated into a nightmare of manipulation and abuse, leaving behind a trail of broken dreams and suffering. Emily was attracted by Elliot's charisma and charm at first glimpse, which led to her being drawn into a whirlwind affair that was filled with promises of love and loyalty. In spite of this, the seeds of possessiveness and control were hidden beneath the surface, and they were subtle signs of a more sinister truth that was hiding beneath the surface of attachment. Elliot's grasp tightened, and his jealousy flared up at the smallest suggestion of imagined threats to his power. Emily's independence and autonomy gradually deteriorated as a result of this. The subtle nature of Elliot's deception increased in tandem with the development of their relationship, culminating in a vicious cycle of emotional and physical abuse that continued unabated without interruption. When Emily was under Elliot's oppressive control, her once bright spirit began to darken. In the guise of love, her every move was analysed and policed, and she was always being watched and monitored. Elliot's toxic behavior, which included both visible and invisible wounds, was a monument to the depths of his cruelty and hatred. His behavior ranged from remarks that were degrading to outbursts of violence. Emily found the fortitude to break free from Elliot's grasp, her resolve being powered by a deep determination to restore her autonomy and dignity. Despite the terror and uncertainty that gripped her heart, Emily ultimately managed to break free from Elliot's grasp. As she took the excruciating decision to cut ties with her abuser, she did so with shaky hands and a heavy heart. She was aware that the road to freedom would be littered with obstacles and hardships, yet she made the decision nevertheless. Emily clung to the glimmer of hope that burned within her, a beacon of light that guided her towards a future that was free from fear and cruelty, despite the fact that the path that lay before was uncertain. Emily and Elliot's narrative serves as a sobering reminder of the horrific toll that domestic abuse takes, and it is a stark monument to the tenacity of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable suffering. This story was written in the furnace of their turbulent relationship. Emily was able to find the fortitude to break free from the chains that tied her by utilizing her courage and drive. She emerged from the darkness into the light of a new dawn that was filled with promise and possibilities. A frightening story of deception, treachery, and the search for accountability is revealed by the sad events that surrounded Emily Longley's death. These events throw a shadow of sorrow and injustice over her premature passing. Emily's future was cruelly cut short by Elliot Turner, her obsessive and abusive partner. Emily's future was filled with promise, but it was cruelly cut short. A fierce quarrel broke out between them as their troubled relationship approached its breaking point. The argument was fueled by jealousy and bitterness because of the situation. Elliot's violent tendencies escalated out of control in a moment of unfathomable wrath, ending in a horrible act of violence that robbed Emily of her life and broke the lives of all those who loved her. Emily's life, as well as the lives of those who loved her, were devastated. The eerie reverberations of her screams resonated throughout the night, serving as a reminder of the dreadful outcomes that can result from domestic abuse that is not addressed. In the aftermath of Emily's passing, Elliot Turner's family made a concerted effort to protect him from the repercussions of his actions, and they resorted to extreme lengths in order to conceal the truth and avoid taking responsibility for his acts. The basic ideals of justice and integrity that serve as the foundation of a civilized society were betrayed by them as they collaborated to conceal vital evidence and distort the course of the investigation. They did this with a callous contempt for the truth. Because of their actions, the suffering of Emily's loved ones was only made worse, which further delayed the process of closure and contributed to the perpetuation of the cycle of injustice. The wheels of justice spun inexorably as judicial proceedings sought to make Elliot Turner accountable for his horrible acts, despite the fact that other members of the Turner family attempted to avoid accountability for the murders he committed. By laying plain the depravity of Elliot's acts and the complicity of his family in maintaining the cover-up, a thorough investigation was able to establish the truth behind Emily's untimely death. This was made possible by the tireless work of law enforcement and prosecutors. Elliot Turner was forced to confront the repercussions of his conduct in a courtroom that was packed with tension and passion. The burden of his guilt was pressing down on him. Elliot's destiny was sealed because he was condemned to a life in prison, which served as a sharp reminder that no one is above the law. The gavel was dropped with a serious declaration of judgment, and the punishment was handed out. In the aftermath of Emily's untimely death, justice served as a light of hope amidst the darkness, providing comfort to her grieving loved ones and bringing some degree of closure to a community that had been shocked by tragedy. Despite the fact that Emily's light may have been extinguished, her legacy will live on as a symbol of bravery, resiliency, and the unwavering pursuit of justice, in spite of the challenges that she faced. In the aftermath of Emily Longley's sad death, the ripple effects of her loss resonated through the lives of her family and loved ones, leaving behind a landscape that was scarred by grief, anguish, and questions that were left unanswered. Emily's family and loved ones were left with a gaping wound that refused to heal as a result of the heartbreak caused by her absence. As they struggled to come to terms with the inexplicable reality of life without her, their world, which had been so bright before, was thrown into complete darkness. The eerie absence of her laughter, her smile, and her presence reverberated throughout every nook and cranny of their house, leaving behind an emptiness that could never be replaced. As they fought to come to grips with the senseless loss of a beloved daughter, sister, and friend, their hearts hurt with the anguish of 1,000 tragedies. Her death was a tragedy that they could not have imagined. Emily's passing was a blow that Mark Longley could not have imagined, and it literally shattered his entire world into a million pieces. As her father, his sadness was a flood of unfiltered feelings that threatened to devour him completely, leaving him adrift in a sea of despondency. Every second that he was awake was plagued by memories of his cherished daughter, serving as a continual reminder of the priceless moments that had been taken away from him by the malicious hand of fate. But even in the depths of the darkness, a glimmer of determination blazed within him, and he made a solemn commitment to honor Emily's memory by fighting for justice and bringing attention to the problem of domestic abuse. As a depressing reminder of the insidious nature of domestic abuse and the devastating toll it exacts on individuals, families, and communities alike, Emily's untimely death served as a sobering reminder of the nature of domestic violence. By sharing her tale, she shed light on the secret epidemic of abuse that exists behind closed doors, hidden from view by shame, fear, and the stigma that is associated with society. It was the spark that ignited a national discourse about the critical need to end the cycle of violence, to empower survivors, and to hold abusers accountable for their acts. All of Emily's loved ones and family members were able to find the courage to speak out against injustice, to push for change, and to make sure that her passing was not in vain because of the legacy that Emily left behind. Emily's memory will continue to live on as a beacon of hope and perseverance in the midst of an unfathomable tragedy. It will inspire others to stand up against the darkness and to shine a light on the way to healing and justice. Despite the fact that her life was cut short, her legacy will live on as a continuing demonstration of the strength of love, bravery, and the unyielding spirit of the human race. In conclusion, The story of Emily Longley serves as a powerful reminder of the devastating effects that are caused by domestic abuse and the urgent need to take action in order to prevent similar tragedies from occurring in the future. Emily's journey from being a cherished daughter and a talented young woman to becoming a victim of domestic violence exemplifies the covert nature of abuse and the far-reaching damage it has on individuals, families, and communities. Her life was distinguished by resiliency, fortitude, and tenacity in the face of incomprehensible tragedy. Yet, her premature death serves as a somber reminder of the critical need to address the core causes of domestic abuse and to provide support and resources for survivors. Her life was marked by these qualities. Emily Longley's legacy will continue to live on in the hearts and minds of those who knew and loved her, as well as in the larger community that may have been impacted by the tragic events that led to her passing. Conversations have been generated as a result of her tale regarding the frequency of domestic violence and the significance of successfully ending the cycle of abuse. We are reminded of the precarious nature of life and the importance of cherishing and guarding those who are important to us through the preservation of her memory. We are inspired to take action when we reflect on Emily's narrative because we feel obliged to raise awareness about the warning signs of domestic abuse, to provide support and services for survivors, and to hold perpetrators accountable for their acts. It is imperative that we collaborate in order to establish a culture that is characterized by safety, respect, and equality, one in which every person has the right to live a life free from fear and abuse. In honor of Emily Longley and all those whose lives have been altered by the experience of domestic violence, let us make a solemn commitment to the pursuit of justice, healing, and prevention. By working together, we have the ability to create a future in which every individual is accorded the dignity and respect they deserve, and in which love is characterized by compassion, empathy, and mutual support. As a result of the research and debate of Emily Longley's narrative, a number of important themes have emerged, which shed light on the intricacies of justice, loss, and resilience in the face of domestic violence. The path that Emily has taken is illustrative of the significant adverse effects that domestic abuse has on both individuals and families. We are able to observe the struggle for justice in the aftermath of a catastrophe through her tale. This is due to the fact that loved ones are struggling to come to terms with the sad death of a valued daughter and friend. The investigation into who is responsible for Emily's death serves as a focal point for the investigation of topics such as the search for closure, the struggle to overcome grief, and the concept of resiliency. Emily's family finds comfort in their unyielding commitment to respect her memory and seek justice on her behalf, despite the enormous agony and anguish that they find themselves experiencing as a result of her absence. Within the context of Emily and Elliot's relationship, the text presents a terrible representation of the insidious nature of domestic violence, showing the steady escalation of abuse that occurred over the course of their romance. The narrative highlights the catastrophic impact that abuse has on individuals and families, beginning with the earliest signals of possessiveness and control, and culminating in the tragic finale of violence and loss. As a result of Emily's narrative, we are confronted with the harsh realities of domestic abuse and the pressing need for awareness, prevention, and assistance for those who have survived it. A critical assessment of social views and responses to domestic abuse is prompted by Emily's experience, which reveals the lingering stigma and silence that frequently surrounds tragedies of this nature. The text forces us to address the unsettling realities that we are confronted with regarding the prevalence of abuse in our communities and the obstacles that hinder survivors from seeking assistance and support. The narrative of Emily encourages us to demand accountability, advocate for change, and work toward the creation of a society in which every individual is valued, respected, and protected. This is accomplished by shedding light on the systemic failures and injustices that perpetuate cycles of violence. This is a depressing reminder of the critical need to address the fundamental causes of domestic abuse and to support survivors on their journey toward recovery and justice. Emily Longley's story serves as a sobering reminder of this urgent need. We are able to pay tribute to Emily's memory and work for a future that is free from the plague of abuse and violence if we engage in thoughtful study and discussion. The narrative of Emily Longley is a stunning monument to the persistent impact of domestic abuse and the incredible endurance of the human spirit in the face of inconceivable suffering. In conclusion, the story of Emily Longley speaks to both of these concepts. Throughout the course of this investigation into Emily's life and the sad events that led to her passing, we have dug into the harrowing realities of domestic violence, the search for justice, and the enduring legacy of love and grief. Through her voyage, Emily's journey was distinguished by tenacity, persistence, and unflinching hope. Her journey began with a beautiful childhood in England and ended with a hopeful future in New Zealand. However, her life was cut short by the hands of her abusive spouse, Elliot Turner, whose acts serve as a clear reminder of the tragic toll that is taken by violence committed by an intimate relationship. Emily's story is not merely a narrative of tragedy and loss. It is a call to action to confront the pervasive epidemic of domestic violence and to support survivors in their journey towards healing and justice. Through her memory, we are reminded of the importance of raising awareness, advocating for change, and fostering a culture of respect, empathy, and equality. Emily's legacy lives on in the hearts of all who knew and loved her, serving as a beacon of hope and inspiration in the fight against abuse and injustice. As we reflect on Emily's life and legacy, let us honor her memory by standing in solidarity with survivors, amplifying their voices, and working together to build a future where love triumphs over violence, and every individual is treated with dignity, respect, and compassion. In doing so, we honor Emily's spirit and ensure that her story will never be forgotten.